Hey everyone, Derek Thornton here. As many of you may have recently heard, there was a settlement or a proposed settlement reached in the lawsuit against the National Association of REALTORS, and it has caused a firestorm of reactions all across the country. Everyone's talking about it. It seems like seeing all these news articles and stories being released, and some of it has been incredibly misleading. So I wanted to take some time to just discuss what we know, what we don't know, and just my general thoughts on where we stand with everything. One of the things we know is that the settlement is still subject to court approval. We're waiting to see. We're anticipating it will pass later on in the year, but we're going to start implementing some of the practices around mid-July in anticipation of this settlement. Assuming it does pass, two of the key practices that will change in the real estate world is that one, we will now require a written buyer agency agreement to be in place anytime a buyer's agent is working with a buyer. For those of us in North Carolina, that's not going to be a massive adjustment for us because we've already been doing that. We've already got those forms in place, and it's a wonderful thing. I've been an agent for almost 10 years now. I've been using those buyer agency forms all along. It clearly details our responsibilities, how long it lasts, how compensation works. It's all laid out clearly. So it's not going to be as big of an adjustment for us. The second key practice that's going to change is that they will no longer allow us to post the compensation that a listing agent is offering to a buyer's agent in the multiple listing service or the MLS. That is going to be a huge change. Now, nowhere did it say that we're not allowed to pay a buyer's agent or that we can't pay a buyer's agent. You can still pay them. It just changes the way that we can display what we're paying out to a buyer's agent. One of the most misleading claims that I've seen thrown around by a lot of media outlets is that the standard realtor fee is going away or that it'll cease to exist or it's going to be slashed in half or anything like that. That fee has always been 100% negotiable between the seller and that agent, right? They may say, hey, we want to do a percentage. We may want to do a flat fee. There are some a la carte services out there. You can sell directly to a investor. You can sell your home for sale by owner and avoid a realtor altogether. Those options have always been available, and they will continue to be available to a lot of the people out there. In most traditional deals, how it typically works is that the seller will hire a listing agent to help them sell their property, and they will agree to give them a portion of their net proceeds at the closing table if that listing agent helps them sell the home. The amount that they are paying that agent, again, 100% negotiable. The listing agent says, I need help making sure that I get maximum exposure, so I will offer a portion of my commission that I'm getting out to a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent then comes and brings a ready, willing, and able buyer, and they get a portion of that commission for their services. The amount that the listing agent offers the buyer's agent and the amount that the seller offers the listing agent, all of those figures are negotiable. It's up to them. You can make those numbers whatever you want them to be and go through the transaction just like that. Where it gets confusing is that a lot of people fail to understand that the seller can't get those net proceeds unless the buyer gives them that purchase price. And so in reality, both the buyer and the seller are contributing to that compensation or that final commission amount. The reason that it often gets confusing is that the buyer's contribution to that compensation is baked into the purchase price, right? So they may not often feel it as much as the seller feels it when they see it come directly out of their net proceeds at the closing table. At this point, we have far more questions than we have answers. The list of things we don't know is growing longer by the day. We're constantly thinking of new things. You figure we've got to change our forms, our contracts, our disclosures, the way the MLS is set up. There's a ton of things that are going to have to change in a relatively short amount of time. So it's going to take us a bit to get used to it. We will figure it out, but it's going to take some time for us to really be able to have a full comprehension of all the consequences, the benefits, all these things that are going to be changing, all the business models that are going to present themselves, all those things are going to be happening, and we're going to be figuring it out as we go along. And so those are things we have to keep in mind. There's a lot of claims being thrown around saying that house prices are going to drop and commissions will be slashed and all these different things. That remains to be seen. The market is going to be what dictates that. Agents don't determine what a house is worth. Appraisers don't determine what a house is worth. The market always determines that. And the market's going to determine what happens with this ordeal, right? When we think about areas like the Triangle that are really popular, we've got still a very low amount of housing inventory, got people moving in here every day. I don't personally foresee a situation where the house prices are going to have a drop or a fall, even if you do try to remove several of the agents or a part of the commission out of the deal. It's still not going to show up in house values dropping in a significant amount. I don't personally foresee it. Again, it could happen. We're going to have to wait for the market to let us know if that is going to take place. Two of my main concerns in regard to these new practices is in relation to transparency and competition. As far as transparency is concerned, when you remove the compensation from the MLS, it adds a layer of complexity to the home buying process, right? As it stands right now, when we put the compensation out there in the MLS, you know that all the agents who are subscribers to that MLS are due that compensation if they bring the buyer to that deal. If you make it so that it's no longer allowed to be placed on the MLS, well, now we're scrambling trying to figure out who's being offered what, and there's no safety mechanism that's been put in place to make sure that the same compensation is being offered across the board, which means that you're now creating environments which are ripe for discrimination and fair housing violations. In regard to competition, you got to keep in mind there's 1.5 million realtors out there. 75% of the people who enter this business are gone within the first year. The reason we have such a high turnover rate is because the competition is incredibly fierce in this industry. It's very difficult to survive in this world, right? We're constantly seeing people come and go. If you add these new practices, and they do end up making business even more difficult for people to make it in this industry, right? We've seen a dip in overall transactions almost 40% over the past couple of years, right? Agents are struggling out there. And if you add something that makes it even more difficult, we may see a wave of realtors leave the business, which reduces competition. So now if a seller is out there trying to find a realtor who will do something cheaper for them, or who's willing to do it for a lower price, right? Which is what we were trying to intend, what they intended through this lawsuit, they have less options to go to if there are less realtors in the business. And so those are just a couple of things that I've thought about recently. And again, we're constantly thinking of new things that could arise as a result of this. Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Trust me, we will figure out a way to get through this and work through this and figure out how to make sure we're still helping our clients every single day. You know, realtors, we've made it through recessions. We've made it through 2020. We've made it through hot markets. We've made it through cold markets. We have made it through all different types of things, and we will make it through this, and we will figure out a way to make sure we are always providing the absolute best service. If nothing else, I do think that this whole settlement and this lawsuit and everything that's going on, eventually it will show people the value that realtors have always provided. We know that it's been there. We've seen what we've done. We've had clients who have told us how much we have helped them over the years. And so we know that the value is there. This is going to be our opportunity to show people just how much value realtors have provided over the years and will continue to provide. And so just wanted to give you guys that update. As always, I'm here to answer any questions if you ever have any. Again, we're still figuring these things out as we go along. And so I'll give you guys updates as we continue to learn more. But I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, I'll help you next time. Have a good one.